Another brilliant Arsenal win. 4 goals to Arsenal, 1 to Leeds United, who were battered once again in the Premier League. That is 3 wins on the bounce for Mikel Arteta and his Arsenal young guns as they cement their position inside the top 4. They moved to within just 5 points of Chelsea. Arsenal taking massive advantage of the fact that Tottenham and Man United can't play. They're doing the exact right thing. They're creating clear blue water between them and their competitors. Games in hand are great, but you have to win them. They are not a guarantee of points. And when you think about those back-to-back defeats to Man United and Everton, the turmoil and the anger from a lot of the Arteta outers, the response from this Arsenal team has been impeccable. Whether you're an Arsenal fan, let's move a bit further forward here, sorry. Whether you're an Arsenal fan or not, you have to recognize in the past 3 games, Arsenal Football Club have been absolutely excellent and spearheaded, I will add, spearheaded by those young, 4 of those attacking players, those youngsters. Yes, they've been marshaled in the last few games by Lacazette, but the standout performance for Arsenal from an offensive point of view, putting that ball in the back of the net. Emil Smith-Rowe, 7 goal contributions in his last 10 games for Arsenal, 3 goals in his last 3 games. You have Martinelli with 10 goal contributions in his last 10 games. He has 3 goals in his last 2 games. Saka, 6 goal contributions in his last 10 games, and he has 3 GA in his last 3 games. And Odegaard now starting to chip in, 4 in his last 10, but actually that's come in the last 5 games. He's really started to turn that corner. And those 4, although they're not starting the game together, invariably in the last few games, Smith-Rowe's been coming on from the bench. The collective looks brilliant together. There is no doubt about it whatsoever. Martinelli, there were calls from Arsenal fans. I remember in a space just screaming for him to be involved, screaming for him to be used by Mikel Arteta, and he is absolutely flourishing at this moment in time. Those 4 youngsters are doing themselves absolutely proud, very, very proud in the Premier League. And as I say, they put Arsenal into a very, very good position indeed. 18 games played, so almost halfway through the season. They're in 4th spot. They're 4 points ahead of West Ham right now. They are 5 points in front of Manchester United. They are 7 points in front of Tottenham and only 5 points behind Chelsea, who are currently on a really bad run of form. Let's have it right. They're on a really bad run of form. Arsenal now don't even need to think about what their rivals are doing because, yes, Spurs have got 4 games in hand. Man United have got 2. West Ham have got 1. But those games need to be won. Arsenal's next match, it's a guaranteed 3 points. Arsenal's next match, beyond guarantee, they play a worse team than Leeds. They play Norwich. Arsenal will win that game against Norwich, in my opinion. That's their kind of Boxing Day. That's their Boxing Day game. Arsenal now just need to look ahead. I would say if I was Arteta now, I'd be saying to my players, just chase Chelsea. And it doesn't mean you're better than Chelsea or you're going to get Chelsea. Wait for the logic before you start to panic, including you Chelsea fans watching. When I was younger, I used to do a little bit of cross country. Didn't really enjoy it. I'm not really a fan of running per se. But my coaches always used to say, like, find the best runner you can be near and just try and stay on their shoulder the whole time and you'll have a good race. And that's what Arsenal now need to do with Chelsea. Just keep looking at Chelsea. Don't look back. Don't look sideways. Just keep looking forward. Because Spurs, although they decided to look good in the league, they've got 4 games in hand. A bottleneck is coming. Man United are going to have the same situation as well. West Ham are always going to slightly drop off. They've put themselves into a great, great position indeed. Arsenal have, and their fans should be exceedingly proud of what they've done, especially after those back-to-back defeats, because it could have fallen apart. It could quite easily have fallen apart. And for this festive period, you look at this from when it started, 3-0 against Southampton, 2-0 against West Ham, and 4-1 again today. Lots of goals being scored. But that's in the space of 7 days. In the space of 7 days, Arsenal have scored 7, 8, 9 goals and just conceded the 1. That is an excellent response to those back-to-back defeats. The Arteta out crew were out in numbers. They were screaming. They were shouting. They were doing everything what it is that they needed to do. People backstage are waving to me like I don't know they're there. Just wait your turn backstage. Relax. And the thing is, they've all started waving now. It was only 1. Now they're all waving. My sins. I have to talk to Happy Gooners. And do you know what I have to say as well? Leeds pissed me off today. I have to tell you. It's been like all this football's getting cancelled. I knew Arsenal were going to win. Arsenal were better than Leeds by a long way. But I was like, please make it competitive, Leeds. We're being starved. This is the most amazing time for football in this country, the festive Christmas period. And we're being starved of it because of medical reasons. And I thought, let's have a good game. No. Arsenal just blew them away. So I was so angry watching it. I'm like, please, Leeds. But what am I expecting from Leeds? One of the biggest fraud Premier League managers of all time in Bielsa. Legit, he only gets called great because he sits on a box. He sits on a box. And people call him, he's so quirky. He's so funny. Oh, my word. This guy got voted the third best manager in the world. It's a shambles, absolute shambles. So I was kind of happy Leeds got pammed, but I was annoyed because I wanted something fun to watch. I have to watch the boxing later on the zone, Chisora versus Parker for a bit of drama now. Do you know what I'm saying? But quite a few things to delve into. We're going to have the panel on a little bit later. I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. Ogunas, how confident are you now of staying in the top 4 race? Like I've said, aim at Chelsea. Chelsea's form at the minute suggests they could be dragged into this. Let's see what happens against Wolves tomorrow. Any slip up against Wolves, and suddenly, and if Liverpool and City win, maybe Chelsea start looking down rather than looking up. And Arsenal have done a very, very good job of throwing the cat amongst the pigeons at the very least. They've been excellent today, no doubt about it at all. Let's go to some of your comments here before I bring in callers and bring this in. He wears Speedos around the house. Yeah, things like that. Like, I think Bielsa is a great character. He probably is a great person. I don't know him. But people allow someone's personality to feed too much into their opinion on their profession, like how they are as a professional. And that, for me, is my issue with Bielsa. People use the word great next to his name. Fergie's great. Pep is great. Klopp is great. Arteta is great. No, joking. Wenger is great. Like, the point I'm making is you can't call Bielsa great. Man's using man-to-man marking in 2021. Bruv, that's the equivalence of me using a Filofax. That's the equivalence of me using Betamax. Man-to-man marking in 2001. And he don't change it for no one. This ain't the championship, my G. But listen, I'm not taking nothing away from Arsenal today. They deserved it. Scott McTominay got a brace against these man. Scott McTominay got a brace. And that's what annoys me about him. That's what makes me so frustrated about watching Leeds United. Irrespective, I said the same thing when they played City. I said the same thing in all their games. This isn't an Arsenal thing. So Arsenal fans, please don't go, you're not giving this credit. You were great. You were brilliant. I've already done the praise. But I'm talking Leeds for a minute. I want them out of this league so bad. Give me 19 Burnleys over 1 Leeds United. Oh, they're exciting. They're not exciting. We all love them because they're easy to beat. There's no jeopardy in that. Honestly. It's just, it's embarrassing. It really is. I'm going to go to some super chats now. I ain't done no super chats yet today. I'm going to struggle here. Remontada comeback recovery. I don't know what that means, Sammy. I don't know. I know what those words mean as individuals. I don't get what you're saying. Maybe it's my COVID brain, my dyslexic brain, the combination of the two. I am unable to put together a coherent sentence with those 3 words. I'm sorry, Sammy. I don't get it. Try again, please, my brother. Please try again. Deshane here says, I would say Odegaard for me connected everything beautifully. Odegaard is looking very good indeed. This is the 15-year-old kid that the world was told was going to be a superstar. He's looked brilliant in these last 4 or 5 games. And again, to recover, some players can fall apart after giving away bad penalties. His stupid tackle against Fred cost Arsenal 3 points. But his response to that has been impeccable. And I said for a long time about Arsenal, I've said it all season, there have been improvements. That cannot be denied. And I actually think this run since getting beat by Everton is it's only 3 games, but it's superior to the unbeaten run you had because of the clinicalness in the games, the consistency in the games, the game management in the last 3 games has been better. Second half today was prime example. You didn't let them Leeds back into the game. You played in second gear because you're playing the festive fixture list. Yes, you get a bit of a break now between now. No, you don't get a break between now and Boxing Day. You got the League Cup on Tuesday. Sorry, I forgot because my trash team went out. All right, at the end of the day, right? It's such good game. These last 3 games have been more impressive than your 10, 11, 12 game unbeaten run because the wins have been beyond convincing, emphatic, in fact. And I think that's why sometimes it isn't the amount of games, it's the style, it's the way. These performances are what the modern day fan would call sustainable. And they are very much that. So I would agree. Terry Check tweets, the game is in Chelsea's game's in doubt for tomorrow. I'm not surprised. I'm telling you now, I almost feel like, I guarantee you for the last 24 hours, Leeds have been doing natural flow, whatever they're called, not natural flow tests, lateral flow tests. I bet they've been testing those Leeds players like you wouldn't believe. Listen, guys, go sit on the town centre and mingle with people. Go and cuddle the general public. We need this game off. You can't get it off for normal injuries. I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea's game's off tomorrow. Chelsea need it off as well. They really do. Guardiola criticised Wolves for sitting back with 10 men, yet waxes lyrical about Bielsa opening up against teams. That's the point. You're right, bro. Everybody, I love it when teams open up and they're easy to beat. Of course you do. Of course you do. I don't, though. See, I like football how I like my women. I don't like them loose. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't like them easy. Do you know, I don't need them to spread like peanut butter. I want it to be a tough ride, a challenge. Do you know what I mean? Make me wait. Make me put the man hours in. That's what I like about football. Example is, today's game weren't competitive. At least when you play a Burnley, right? They can make it really hard, and it makes it competitive. Today, like, I'm taking nothing away from Arsenal. They battered them like an Ian Beale codfish. But they're just embarrassing. To call this team great is bad. VHS tapes are younger than man marking. This is true. And some of these kids are like, what's a VHS tape? I still got some VHS tapes of me when I used to do stage and theatre stuff, singing. I played Bert in Mary Poppins. I used to like singing and stuff, and then my voice, I was quite a good little singer when I was a kid, and then my voice broke. No tune. Like, none. It left me. My dad's a singer, and like I got family and friends that can sing, and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And then my voice broke. Nothing left. Nothing left. It just left me. It just went. So I just become the world's best YouTuber. That's a joke in case anyone's triggered. Right, first caller of the night coming on now. Jess is going to be here with us to have her say. I'm not putting those videos on Tinternet. I'd rather revenge porn, if I'm being absolutely honest with you, than them videos going out, because I'm not embarrassed in that area. Anyway, I digress. I'm very embarrassed that you all see me sing chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chim. I know the word still, which is very mad. Very, very mad indeed. And I did that in year 6. Year 6, bruv. Heather Dancy played Mary. I remember the names of everyone that was on that production as well. It's a great time. Great time when you're a kid. Josh here, sorry, Jess, says, until Arsenal are on the same amount of games as United with more points, then I'll be worried. Also send them losers back to the Championship. And I can understand that train of thought. I really do get that train of thought of not being overly worried. I would say this. One game in hand is cool. When it starts going into 2s and 3s and 4s, I start to worry because a bottleneck will be created and we won't get rest in between these games, harder to win, and it could end up overlapping into the Champions League restarting. So for me, personally, I'm desperate for the Premier League to get stopped now until Man United are allowed to play again. Purely selfish reasons, and I know we've got the games in hand, but we've got to win. If AUBAMEYANG was playing instead of Martinelli, it won't be this emphatic. I think it's a really good point. Listen, and do you know, I'm going to bring Jess on now because Jess got called out by Arsenal fans for suggesting this a few weeks ago on one of my spaces. So we're going to bring Jess out to have a say, Igal to come, young Samuel to come as well. Hit that like and that share button for me, people. Let's go. Yes, Jess, how are you?
I'm all right. Would love to hear you sing Chim Chimmery, Chim Chimmery, Chim Chim Chimmeroo, or whatever it is.
Nah, ain't happening, mate. Ain't happening at all.
All right.
Not for a minute. Not for a minute.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
£100 super chat and I'll sing it. There we go. Put it out there. Not from you, just in general.
There you go.
Cool. Talk to me about your Arsenal team. 3 wins from 3, 11 goals, 1 conceded, cementing top 4 place in terms of you've got a nice little points gap now. Martinelli that you wanted back in the team cooking. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I guess the first thing I want to say is that like we don't miss Aubameyang at all. We don't, and we haven't anytime that he's been dropped. Like this whole idea that like we play better with Aubameyang has been a joke, and I think Lacazette may not score that many goals, but we can already see that he adds so much more to the team, and it's been like that for a year, So Aubameyang has done nothing but make it easier for us to move on from him. It's just interesting that like the team looks unfazed, if not way better, and convinced by Arteta's decision, and I like that. So I haven't been a big advocate of Aubameyang. I think we should have moved on from him in the summer, and so watching the team play well without him is giving me all the feels. So I'm good with it, but it was weird because commentary over here, I think it was Jim Beglin was saying that Lacazette missing those first couple of chances meant that it gave Aubameyang, like Arsenal fans would be missing Aubameyang because of those chances. Shut up. No, we're not. But I'll start off with some of the more, I think there were some negatives, so I will like at least address them. That when you want to take your foot off the gas, there's a better way to do it than the way that we did it today. I thought we were sloppy and we gave them an opportunity to come back into the game. They're not a very good team, but I think a better team would have put us under more pressure. And so I didn't like those first 20 to 30 minutes of the second half. I get that we were 3-0 up and they probably wouldn't have been able to do anything, but it's nitpicking. And when I see other teams go up, like we did, when they take their foot off the gas, the midfielders take responsibility. And I just, what are you laughing at?
No, you say you took your foot off the gas. It reminded me of the funniest moment in the game where Ramsdale celebrated Ben White giving away a penalty. It was hilarious because you were winning. It was like he thought it was a good tackle, and I was like, "Did you not see it?" So he won the
Oh, he celebrated,
and I think Ramsdale thought it was a good tackle and was like, "Yeah!" and like high five Ben White. It was so strange.
Oh, Rammy! Oh no, that's terrible.
That's how relaxed he became. He gave away a penalty and didn't care. But I hear you.
It was. I was just like, this is just too much, and I think that that's where Thomas Partey and Xhaka really come into focus for me. I think Xhaka started the half like an idiot. He should have probably gotten a red card. I mean, if that had happened to like one of our players, I would be like, hell yeah, he needs to get a red. So him starting off like that just reminded me again, like, yeah, we need a freaking midfielder and we need it quick. They need to put their foot on the ball and stop the team from spiraling out of control. But nevertheless, the young players, again, they didn't bail us out, but they gave us that intensity back with Emile Smith-Rowe. And obviously the Odegaard pass for Smith-Rowe's goal for me was so nice. And I think he should shoot more. It's weird. Yeah. He's so left-footed that he doesn't like to shoot. But I just thought like we're adding end product. The kids are adding end product. That's been a big reason why I think people have been reluctant to say our young players are good, because they didn't have the assists and the goals to back it up. And now they're doing that. It's ESR, it's Martinelli, it's Saka, it's Odegaard. And so it's looking good. But, if we think we're going to sustain some sort of top four challenge, for me, I think those lulls in the game where we kind of take our foot off the gas, that needs to be a lot better. It needs to be cleaner. They can't be stupid and be giving up penalties and stuff like that. In regards to the points that Spurs, or the games in hand that Spurs and Man United have, I think I'd prefer to be in this position, especially because we've won our games, than chasing and having the pressure to perform with a congested schedule. I think that does give us a slight advantage, but I'm under no illusion that good teams have games in hand that they should be winning. But I'm glad we took care of our business. So I'm happy, but I am a little bit like, can we not be idiots for 30 minutes?
I hear you on that. Again, you will always look at it differently to a neutral. And I am neutral to a degree in this sense, because I was watching it and I didn't feel like you were in any real danger. And literally barring, I thought there was some looseness in the middle. You're right, from Xhaka, and especially Partey. He still has this habit sometimes of just giving the ball away inexplicably in the middle.
Yeah.
There's a few moments like that, and there was a Ben White tackle, which didn't need to make it. Not when you're 3-0 down, you don't need to make tackles like that, because that could have gone. If he catches the guy's ankle, he might even get a red card. It's like, don't take those silly risks. But I just viewed it as you were playing in second gear, reserving energy, and thought it was fine. I completely agree with your point about having the points on the board. And when it was one game in hand, I was fairly relaxed. My fear is that you guys play Boxing Day and we don't, and you win again, and there's another 3 points we have to make up. I don't want there being, because you suddenly get, like, look at Spurs. They've got 4 games in hand over you now. When are they playing those games? Like, when are they fitting all these games in? Now, they're a little bit luckier. They might get the biggest bit of luck any club in England's got in the last few years. They might get told they can't be in the Conference League anymore, which I don't think they'll cry about. We've got Champions League football against in under 8 weeks coming up, and people say, that's 8 weeks away. But where are you going to fit these games in? There's no room between now and the end of Jan to fit it in, so it's going to be February. So yeah, I'm in that sort of state of mind. And on your youngsters, look, I've always rated your youngsters. Maybe not so much Odegaard, but Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe have been 2 players I've praised massively.
What about Martinelli?
I was just about to mention him. I've always felt that I literally about to say his name. I've always thought Martinelli was very, very good as well. But you are right. Outputs matter. And the reason they matter, because without them, you end up in a situation where it's all flicks and tricks. We have a saying here in the UK, I don't know if you have it in America, which is you're all fur coat and no knickers. And that's what happens when you're do all the tricks, you're all the flicks, you're all the skills, but there's nothing at the end of it. And what these youngsters, Emil Smith-Rowe, 7 goal contributions in 10, Martinelli 6 in 10, Saka 6 in 10. Are they Haaland, Mbappe numbers? No. But are they moving towards that kind of level? Who knows? It's in they're moving. You want to be nearer to that than further away from it. And that's what you need now. And to be a Premier League player, to be a Premier League attacker at one of the biggest clubs, and you are one of the big 4. You're part of the big 6, but you're one of the big 4 money-wise. That's the kind of numbers you need. Like, everyone who's a mainstay attacker in your team, when you look over a 10-game period, you need at least 5 goal contributions. That should be almost the minimum standard, because you've got to be creating or scoring a goal in almost every other game at this level of football, especially when you're playing week in, week out. And those young boys are now starting to do it. They're starting to deliver, and they're starting to deliver against the promise. And that's what's really, really important. And I'm not surprised that they are, to be honest, because they're very, very talented boys.
The last thing I do want to say is that, like, I thought Tomiyasu had a really good game, but I hope he is okay, because Cedric is garbage. And if Tomiyasu can't play, we need to get into that January transfer and get it right back.
Yeah.
I thought a lot of our issues stem from him. He's been crap. Another one of Raul's little gifts that he left behind, along with Pepe and Pablo Mari. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but ultimately, good game, solid win is what it is. Leeds were crap, and I'm glad we took advantage.
Now look at this comment here. It says Leeds injury crisis, yet they are getting bantered. Let me just say this: Leeds with their full team have been beat like this before. Like I'm sometimes sick and tired. First of all, you're a Manchester United fan. How dare you defend Leeds? That is sacrilegious. Okay?
Yeah.
Secondly, it is. Secondly, and more importantly, you're acting like Leeds haven't had their first team out there in games in the Prem and been battered like this.
We beat them 4-2 last season with their real team.
This is exactly this. Yes, they might have created a few more openings and opportunities. Leeds have been this bad, and I would have no problem with them if people didn't talk about them like they were one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league. It just winds me up. It just gets on my tits. I swear.
Yeah, I mean, I said it in my preview that I thought the whole Bielsa thing was bullshit, and his whole murder ball thing is the reason why they are injured. He ran them into the ground, and so injuries and COVID are 2 different things, so you need to play. So I don't really feel that bad for them. Like, people were talking about them like they were really, I mean, their fans were saying that they were the championship Man City.
Yeah.
Like,
they're just not. They're the championship Norwich. That's what they are. They're awful. That's all they remind me of. I don't get the hype on it. Jamie,
and the way he sits on that upside down bucket with a freaking pad on it, it sickens me. I'm just done.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Anyone who's watching who's English, Jamie, I'll put your super chat back up in a minute, my G. Anyone who's watching this is English, we used to have these little things that were part of your sofa when you were a kid called puffies. They're called puffies, and you put your feet on them. Curran, you're old enough. You remember having a puffy, right? Yeah. See, older English people remember a puffy. Why is he sitting on a puffy? Like, just sit on a chair, bruv. And that's what annoys me about it. Man sits on a box and gets called great. Literally sits on a box. A puffy. He's sitting on a puffy and he's being called. I gets on my nerves. He really gets on my nerves. He shouldn't, but he does. He rattles me pink. He really
I'm glad I'm not the only one, because I've had an agenda for a long time. And the way that people are like, they're so exciting. They leave the back door open. They don't defend. The way that we pass down the gut to Martinelli so many times it's embarrassing. Like, what is this life? I'm sorry.
Someone here, Mo says, Terry, just cries clear as Sir Alex. Yeah, of course. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, okay. Alex Ferguson's left ball bag is a better manager than Bielsa, as far as I'm concerned. Jamie says, well done, Arsenal. Send them back to the championship where they belong. Also, thoughts on Lewandowski drawn level with Ronaldo's 69 goals in a calendar year. Excellent from Lewandowski. What I will say is Bundesliga tax. Only because people apply that to what Sancho did. So that's what I'm joking. He deserves it. Absolutely brilliant. Well done, Lewandowski. But come do it in a proper league, bro. No, I ain't joking. I'm only joking. Well done, Lever. I like Lewandowski. I do like him. Jess, are you going to stay for a bit with the panel or are you going to go?
No, I got to go. But you guys enjoy yourself.
See you later on. Cheers, Jess, for coming on. Speak to you in a bit. Take care. Goodbye.
All right, yeah, bye.
See you later. Got work to do here. You've had enough airtime on the terrace tonight. Only messing people. Look, do me a favor and smash that like button. We're going to get the panel on now to delve into a lot more that's going on in relation to this game. We've got Samuel, we've got Curran, we've got Man Like Egal, and Cameron's joined us. Canadian Cam. It's nice to have a little bit of rivals to feed in. I don't like a panel without a little bit of rivalry in it. Smash that like and share button, people. Let's do this. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How are we all doing?
Good, I'm good, man. Terry, I just want to start off by saying I predicted this again. Did I not? Last time after the West Ham game, I came on here. I said City gave them 7. We're going to give them 4. Do you remember that? Do you remember me saying that?
Okay. You did say it. Well done.
Okay, so just pat myself on the back a little bit there. But let me continue by saying Arsenal Football Club is the only team that even when we go to a team away from home struggling, we tend to lose or we tend to drop points or we tend to give them an opportunity. Just look at the Everton game. So I'm happy about my team's performance. And you know what? Credit to us and the way we played. We were professional. We got the job done. I don't want to hear any excuses about their injuries and everything else, because everybody else that goes out there that has a similar issue, they go and pam them and they don't say, oh, after the fact, oh, you should have done this. We did what we had to do. And today I'm just happy about that. That's what I have to say. I'm done.
No, I think you're absolutely fair to be happy about that. And I've got no love loss with either of your clubs, but I ain't having this. They only got battered in the last week or so because of their injury. I was listening to Sky the whole game. Oh, their injuries, it ain't fair. And I'm like, they get battered like this all the time. This is not a new thing for Leeds. Leeds haven't gone from being a resolute, hard to break down team to getting battered because they've got 4 or 5 man out injured, and their players are injured because of how they play football. Zero sympathy.
Fraud.
He is a fraud. Whoever's someone got WhatsApp open, could you do me a favor and close that for us, please? Just because it makes big noise on the stream. Young Samuel, give me your take on your team's performance again today. Namely, as well, I want to speak about your young attackers, the likes of Emil Smith-Rowe, Saka, and of course Martinelli, that's just killing it at the minute.
Listen, man, AUBAMEYANG, I don't think he plays for Arsenal again. The way these youngsters have been going, Martinelli, since he's come to the side against the Newcastle game, this guy has been absolutely sensational. He's been playing 8 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s, almost every game he's played. I think he has, out of all the youngsters we have on our team, Terry, I think Martinelli has the highest potential and highest ceiling out of all of them. I think he's got higher potential than Saka and Smith-Rowe, in my opinion. I think what he's done, the confidence of this guy, the arrogance he has to cup his ears to Leeds fans who were giving it the big one throughout this game. Even the West Ham game, he was giving nutmegs against Souček and all these players. He has got sky high confidence right now, and long may it continue. Bukayo Saka, there was criticism of him from some part of the fan base saying that he should be dropped because he hasn't been performing well instead of Nicolas Pepe. Sorry, instead of Nicolas Pepe. Bukayo Saka, but listen, Saka has been absolutely brilliant, and he's been the key part of this integral or push we've been making towards near the table. And of course, Smith Rowe coming off the bench, he's come for the bench in the past 2 games and he scored a goal. He's a clinical finisher. And listen, we're making a charge now. We've got so many games that we played ahead of other teams, so we have a break. Now it's on to the League Cup. Hopefully, that's another way we can win a trophy this season. So all focus is on the League Cup now.
I hear you on that. And Karen, how about yourself, mate? I mean, we mentioned that we are going to talk Odegaard and a few of the others, but Martinelli at the minute, I'm not too sure where you stood on this debate. I didn't see anything from you, but I remember a lot of Arsenal fans giving Jess crap when she suggested, and it was at half time when you were playing a few weeks ago. I don't remember who you were playing before the Man United game. It was half time. I want to say Newcastle. And I think she said he's got to come on. He isn't getting enough game time. This kid can turn it around, score goals. He's what we need. And I remember a lot of gooners like going, not ape shit at her, but they were having a pop. No, we need to stick with what we've got. He's killing it now. And, Martinelli must be undroppable in your eyes.
Look, well, first of all, happy birthday, Terry. I hope you had a nice day. But
thank you.
The main thing is, with Martinelli, it was always a case of the manager. The whole thing is people were doubting the manager and his development of Martinelli. He was looking at, people were saying, why is he not playing? Why is he not playing? And there was clearly a reason. First, it was in last season, he came back and he got injured just after coming back, and he was definitely being brought through. And you look at him now and you see, look, there was a reason. You don't want to. You need to make sure that because it was a severe knee injury, and when you have those, it's very clear that you need to make sure you manage the return very, very carefully. So, whenever Mikel brought him back, I was happy with. I didn't go for Jess. I don't usually go for Jess because she's a lovely lady. But if it was me, I just think, look, the physios at the club know what they're doing. They understand when to bring him back. And when he did come back, he's been banging in goals. And
yeah. I hear you on it. I think for me, what I saw was almost it depended on how you were talking about Martinelli. So if it was like, why is Arteta not playing and he's ruining him? It was like people went at those people. I think when people had your take of like, he's just being held back for the, almost like Harry Potter, he's being held back for the right time to face Voldemort. Do you get what I mean? It's like, let's not let him fight him until he's a grown-up. Like, you know what I mean? Until the right moment and the right time. They just literally dragged out 7 books. They could have got to that point straight away. And let him kill him when he attacks someone's head. It's very weird how they let that go on. Why didn't they just let him do it then? Why didn't they teach Harry Potter when he was 10 to kill when Voldemort was in the back of someone's head? It would have just ended it. Anyway, sorry, mate. Go on.
I'll tell you one thing, right? And I want to hear anyone come in on this. His development has reminded me a lot of what Pep did with Phil Foden. He wanted to make sure he slowed down his pace of play, understand that it's not all about going 100% all the time, and understand how to control the rhythm of his dribbling, of how he does play the game of football. So for me, I just think it was about his maturity and development and understanding his role on the pitch. So you can see right now that there is a clear the runs that he's making from out to in are very, very decisive, and he understands where to be on the pitch and how to receive the ball to be the great finisher that he already was before even this development started with Mikel. So there's a lot of different things to consider.
Yeah, and I hear you on that. Go on, Miguel.
I'm just going to say I will give Arteta credit for one thing, taking the youngster out of the firing line in the beginning of the season, but he definitely should have brought him in earlier. And I will give him credit that he's doing what he's doing now. But I feel like if he brought him in earlier, maybe we would have been seeing this from earlier in the season, and he could have been helping us from the beginning. But you know what? We have a bright future with Martinelli, Saka, Smith Rowe, Odegaard. Our team today was very young, and they had a young squad. One second. Their squad was very young and riddled with injuries. Their average age was 24. Our average age was 25. Just goes to show you how young our squad is. And I hope that these guys develop together.
Well, one thing I want to say is that the thing is, you think we get excited, but let's not get carried away. I mean, 3 games ago, unless Everton, and this whole fan base is calling for Mikel Arteta's head, And
not the whole fan base, let's be real.
I mean, some part of the fan base, we're calling for Mikel Arteta's head. Fan base. And obviously, if it goes right again, maybe if we lose against Norwich and lose to Man City, it could go back. It could go wrong again. So it is a game at a time.
No, but I will say this, Terry. Everyone listens clearly. Arsenal Football Club is the only club that is not allowed to win games ugly, and not allowed to lose games at all. clearly,
What are you
because
talking
our fan base goes crazy every time anything happens. I'm not going to go crazy after every result. I understand that there's going to be games where you lose, and that just happens sometimes.
Do you know what I think it is? I'm going to go to Cam in just 1 second. Sorry. I think do you know what it comes down to? I was chatting with Hugh Izzy. Me and Hugh Izzy did a show yesterday, and we were talking about this, and it's like, it's extremities of it. And there is a particular Arsenal fan I follow who, after the Everton game, I don't do the whole outing people anymore, and because people can't take the jokes anymore. The world's changed. But he literally tweeted saying, I don't understand what Arteta's doing with this squad. I don't see the development. I don't understand what we're doing. After the Southampton win, says, I love what Arteta's doing with this squad. It looks great. It's that flopping that makes rivals come for Arsenal fans, because you go from one extreme to the other. When you remain, it doesn't matter if you're overly positive. Like, I'll give you an example. Curran and Lee Gunner are the same person, but they have different. No, they do it differently and they have different opinions, but you're very similar in the way that you both stand by your views, whether you win or lose. Do you get where I'm coming from? He doesn't rate Arteta and doesn't think you're moving forward fast enough. Curran does rate Arteta and thinks that you are. But 2 or 3 defeats or 2 or 3 wins in either direction, both stand their ground. I respect that. The fans that annoy me that I go for are the ones that are like, I think Arteta's lost the dressing room. 3 games later, it's like he could become one of our greatest ever managers. I think I would say that to you, Igal, is they're the kind of Arsenal fans who get called out, because it's like, hang on a minute, you can't go from one extreme to the other in 2 or 3 games and then background again. So I think that's where it comes. You can lose games, but it's when you sit on here in a preview and say, we're going to smash it, we're going forward, we're doing this, and then you lose, and it's like, I never saw that coming. What's going on? Oh, the manager's got to go. Fans just come for you because they don't really care about how you feel. They care about the fact that 2 games ago, you get where I'm coming from. Cam, though, rival chat on this.
Everton away is not that tough now, eh?
What?
Look at what Chelsea just did. Everton away, as an example that you gave. Guess what? Everybody has moments where they drop points. Even Chelsea dropped points the other day. Just saying.
Mate, like I say, it's very true and convicted to this. When it comes to the top 6, the vast majority of games we play, we're the favourites in and should be winning. Doesn't mean the games are easy, but we should be winning. Cam's here with us, of course, Man United fan. You know, Arsenal now 3 wins on the bounce. Give me your take on them in the last 3 matches, how you've seen them as a rival.
I mean, like, I'm kind of like you. When we talk about rivals, can you hear that in the background, by the way? Do I need to put headphones?
No, all good, bro. All good.
I see Arsenal as a bigger rival to me than a lot of the top 6 right now, right? Because of how it was when we were coming. And I've always said this, and you've heard me say it, I think they're a bigger club than Chelsea. I've never not said that. I've always said it. It's not a Chelsea hate thing or anything. It's just the truth. When you go globally, you look around. I don't like that they're doing well, but they are. I think a really important thing that people have to look at is how they're winning the last 3 games. I agree with you. Leeds is the most fraudulent. I'll talk about the most fraudulent team in the league. Everybody, I couldn't stand it for the last few years, talking about how amazing their football is and this. All I see is a bunch of dudes running around not playing defense. That's what when I watch Leeds, I can't handle it. I don't think it's not. I've never thought it's fun football. Just like you said, even with their first team, they're trash. So I like what Arsenal did today. It's what they needed to do. Like, for me to progress, to be showing you're progressing, you have to win these games this way. The Everton, that's a letdown. But you can't have more letdowns against teams like Leeds, for instance, and you haven't. So I can't hate on it. And one thing I disagree with you, Gal, on is I think the Martinelli situation. The one thing, I don't rate Arteta. I think he's average at this stage. I don't have enough information. It's been 2 years. I don't have enough information to say he's good or bad. I don't care enough. But the way he's handled Martinelli, I can tell you, I think he's done a really good job. Because when you're saying he should have brought him in a bit earlier, you brought up Foden. I'm going to bring up Greenwood. It's the same idea.
Yeah, great example. Yeah.
They're 19 years old. You pull them in during tough times. Like, what did we do with Greenwood, Terry? We locked him away in a box during our toughest times, and we're like, don't worry about him. The media was coming for him. Everybody was trying to take this kid down. You have to protect them, because that's how you screw these kids up, is you put them in the limelight during the hard times and they fail. They sometimes don't come back out of it. Now is the time. I will say this. You desperately need the kid to be playing. I don't think he can be dropped while he's in this form. I think this is where you're going to find out who he is, and this should be his time. I like Martinelli as a player. Since that Europa League goal he scored, like when he first came on the scene and he had that great Europa, like, I was like, all right, Arsenal have a good player here. And I think when he got brought back and he got injured, anybody screaming for him to be rushed back after that injury clearly doesn't understand development, doesn't understand sports medicine. Like, he's 18 years old, right? He needs to heal, and he's got to get back to 100% before he can actually play. So I think that's one thing Arteta is doing really well, and the youngsters are proving it. He's got a selection crisis now, in my opinion, a selection issue. It's like between Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka, and ESR. 4 guys for what, 2 positions, 3 positions?
You're right, and if you notice what it's done, it's pushed Odegaard to another level. Like I'm not a massive fan of like, I think I like Smith Rowe to start centrally and drift when I watch him play, but you've got 2 players that can occupy that starting role now. Because they're all getting on and there's a good harmony amongst the group, it's creating competition. Odegaard's gone to another level. This is why there's a certain player at Man United who will remain nameless, who does my brain in, because as soon as he has competition, he becomes a shrinking violet. And this is what it's all about. It's about standing up and delivering. You want there to be an air of, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a story that comes out of Arsenal in the next 6 or 7 weeks, if this continues, of a flare up between players in training. It's meant to happen. That competitiveness has to be there. No great workforce, no great team is without competition and without kind of a competitive nature internally to make each other better. And I think you're right there at what you said about the comparisons with Mason Greenwood. A lot of Man United fans were screaming that he even now isn't starting every single game, every single week. We've got to protect these kids, If you actually think about, I look at Cesc Fabregas as a great example. Michael Owen's a very famous example of this. Theo Wilcott. These kids played too much football too young. And look where they all were at 20, 28, 29, 30. Rooney's another. Rooney was built like a man. Every now and then you get a kid that can start playing at 17, 18 and is still a high level of footballer when they're in their late 20s into their early 30s, but most dwindle away and you have a set amount of game time. So I don't think there's any rush in making Martinelli, Greenwood, any of these kids play. Probably the next guy that I wouldn't mind, again, this is purely from an England fan point of view, I wouldn't mind seeing a bit of rotation where Saka gets a little bit of time on the bench, not because he shouldn't be playing and he isn't good enough, but again, he's very young. He can end up being overused over a 3 or 4 year period, which could cause long-term injury problems or just burns him out a little bit too early. I'm being really selfish there because I want him to have a career for England because he's very, very good indeed. Another Arsenal player I do want to talk about is the 2 players, Martin Odegaard and Tomiyasu. Odegaard has turned it around, but I want to speak Tomiyasu first because when you guys signed in the summer, Peter O'Rourke spent a lot of time on the football terrace talking about how talented this fullback was, mainly in a Tottenham chat that we were doing because Tottenham were heavily linked with him. You picked him up for about 37p in the transfer market in relative terms. It was about 8-9 million. How good a right back is he for 8-9 million quid, Curran?
I mean, well, it was 12 million, but beside the point. I looked at Tomiyasu I looked because we were needing a right back for this window. It was very evident. So I looked at like 5 or 6 of them. I watched like 10 or 15 games of each of them. And Tomiyasu was one of them. And the one thing you can look at Tomiyasu and say, even before we signed him, he was very good as a one-on-one defender. And he was very good in terms of coming inside and centrally making those out to in runs into central midfield. And if you look at Tomiyasu, and you look at how we use him, and we use him in basically when we build up, he forms a bank of 3 to move us forward up the pitch. What you do see with Tomiyasu is he's very good in his duels. He's very good in terms of releasing the ball quickly. He doesn't stay a long time on the ball, and he's very good in terms of getting us up the pitch. He doesn't have that overlapping run that we'd like to see for someone like Saka, but he's very good when he comes inside into central midfield, and he gives you that ability to win his duels if we do get caught in transition. And that's when Cedric came on and we lost the ball leading up to that penalty, it was from Cedric, because I don't know if it was Bielsa or someone must have seen that the dual monster we have on the field in that right back position was gone. And they tried to go through that right hand side and came in. And White made that silly tackle. It was a silly tackle. And everyone, Terry, you know as much how high I am on Ben White. I'm livid about that because I predicted 4-0 and I thought you could have got it if it wasn't for that. So
I know already mentioned it as well. That celebrate the way I saw it too. In fact, I'm actually happy you won, so I can laugh about it without any good. I'm being bitter because it made me honestly. Because Ramsdale's like, I like it and hate it about him. We know. I don't know if you noticed this and clock this. I look for this with Ramsdale now. When Rafinha had that shot in the first half on the counter and missed, did you see what Ramsdale did?
He probably
he
celebrated. I didn't see it.
Yeah,
he did celebrate.
As he was getting up, he was smiling like that
Yeah,
at the Leeds fans.
he's
And
such
it's
a
like-
shout. I love him, man.
He is, and he did. He celebrated that tackle. That was hilarious. But sorry, Gal, you were gonna
All the way he
I
celebrated.
wanted to say something about Tomiyasu. First of all, the guy from Sky Sports who said he's not a right back.
Kave.
You know what? He's not any right. He's not just any right back. He's our right back. So I'm happy with that. I don't really care what anybody says. And when it comes to the antithesis of what he does today, there was a goal line chance where the ball went across the box. He blocked the defender from getting the shot on from getting to the ball and getting a shot off. He then took the ball all the way to the right corner, nutmegged one person, got around the other person, and won us a foul. He is the definition of what we have not been seeing from that right back position over years. He's positionally aware. He's good on the ball with both feet. He can come inside and go outside. I've not yet seen his attacking prowess. That's one thing we have not seen, and a lot of people nitpick about. But everything else, he's really good. I'm not going to get ahead of myself and put him in conversations with other right backs. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm just saying I'm happy with the guy that we have.
So are you saying he's better
He's
than
natural
Trent?
Monreal, mate.
No. I'm not putting him in
I'm
conversation
joking.
with Monreal.
I'm joking. It's a joke.
But yeah, can I
He's
get to the
natural
second
Monreal on the
part?
right.
Yep.
The second part. These youngsters, who'd you say you wanted to talk about next?
Odegaard.
Odegaard, up to stats. Did you guys see what they put out at halftime? The 11 chances, shots on target. That was the first time that's happened in 6 years since Up to Stats came out with these on shot targets and everything else. Stats.
Well, the first time Arsenal have done it in 6 years.
I think it might be the Arsenal. You're right. Or no, was it any club? I'm confused. I'm not exactly sure.
I didn't see it.
That was
What?
Arsenal.
Okay,
Yeah,
it
I
was
was
Arsenal.
going to say someone like City or Liverpool must have done
Okay,
it.
so yeah.
Yeah,
So my
yeah.
point is that first half was so good from attacking prowess. We literally stat padded our away stats for chances created today because Odegaard by himself created 4 chances. That was more than I think Odegaard created more chances in that first half than I think the first 5 games. We did not create any more than 4 chances. So that just goes to show you how good Odegaard was today. And I put my hand up. I was a person who said Odegaard is not better than Smith Rowe. Odegaard is not, and I shouldn't have never even compared 2 players that are going to be our players. Also, I said Maddison is a better signing than Odegaard. At the moment, Odegaard is proving me wrong. And this is what I love to see as a fan. I want to be proven wrong when I have an opinion about a player that I'm not sure about that the club signs. And if he continues at this level, he's younger than Maddison. He could probably reach that level. And I'm just happy with the Norwegian, man. He's really playing well.
And you should be happy with him. And I think it's a long way to go still. I still think that there is an element of, with him, it's been 4 or 5 games where he's been performing at this level. But I think it's very, very good signs. A comment here says, commentator said any team to have that many shots in a first half. Okay, so again, I didn't hear that, but fair play if it is Arsenal. I ain't taking nothing away from that performance from Arsenal. I am going to still say it is Leeds. And I mean that in the sense of, they've been battered by so many teams. Like even with Man United, look how bad we were under Ollie, but we played Leeds and looked brilliant. Like there's an
5-1,
element
wasn't
of,
it?
I think there's an element of almost, they use man marking in every sense of the word. And if you look at I think it was Saka's goal. It was a case of, or one of your goals. There's so many opportunities today where the centre back goes chasing after the man that he's man marking. And there's a big hole in the middle, and no midfielder fills it. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's how you play in the playground. That ain't even schoolboy football. That's playground level football. It's an absolute madness to kind of see that it really is. I wanted to ask you guys. We're going to add Ram to the show now. A bit more rival chat in here as well. I wanted to ask you guys one question. I don't think it would have changed There's 2 things that happened in this game, refereeing wise, that made me laugh. There was a few things actually. One, he gave a free kick to Leeds, and then let you guys counterattack after blowing the whistle, which I thought was crazy. But did you notice that Xhaka stopped the free kick from being taken quickly and wasn't booked?
No,
Yes, I did.
Last Saturday in the studio, I was like, I guarantee it happens in the next week, and there's no. That's why Jimenez was hard done by, because they normally don't book players. But interestingly, a few seconds later, Xhaka puts in this tackle. I'd love to get your view and opinion as to whether or not you guys think he was lucky to escape with at least. Didn't get a yellow card for this. What was everybody's take of this on this tackle by Xhaka?
I think, given past decisions against Granit Xhaka, he was a very, very lucky boy not to get a red card for that.
Can I be honest?
I mean, Arsenal fans would cry that's a red card.
It doesn't surprise me though, because Xhaka does this so much, and I can't laud the dark arts on a lot of players.
Dumb.
Rudiger, a lot of players are dark art masters.
Is it really dark arts? I just think it's very stupid.
He does it so much that it's hard to catch.
Do you have the image of Tomiyasu 2 minutes later? The same.
Oh my god, Gal, don't do this because he barely had.
No, I don't. And look, that player also got Gilhar got booked for that, and he didn't.
It was a red.
It should have been both yellows.
This was a stamp.
Yeah, I feel like Xhaka got lucky. And again, it wouldn't have changed the course of this game.
Lucky.
Where Xhaka got lucky is that he could have missed the next 3 Arsenal games. And his partnership with Partey has been very, very good since returning. And I think these were some of the sloppy moments that Jess was talking about that happened in the second half, which wouldn't have probably cost you today. But you never know that the sort of the knock-on effect from there could have fallen out. But yeah, he's Arsenal had a few decisions go their way in the last couple of games, which is, as you've said many times ago, it's just the swings and roundabouts of football. It's you win some, you lose some. You had the West Ham penalty and everything else the other day, but it is what it is. Ram, what are you here to say, bro? Rivals jumping on, having their say is always good.
Yeah. I just want to say it's a great performance from Arsenal. I think.
Oh, his mum came in. Mum settings, mum settings there. We'll see what he's got to say in a few moments. Every time Gal says something stupid, Terry should play his theme tune. Well, Gal didn't say anything stupid.
Theme tune, by the way. I love his theme tune.
I got you, Gal. The theme tune is good, though. The theme tune
is amazing. It's actually
amazing. For a second, because I think it's interesting that we're seeing, because Gal, you brought up Maddison as a comparison. I don't think he's reached that level yet. I think the difference is Maddison's made of, as Terry would say, biscuits and just breaks. When Maddison's on his game, he's a better player at the moment. But Odegaard will say this, like when he was 16, 17, 18, Real Madrid touted as like the next best like young midfielder, attacking midfielder. I think the thing you need to see from him is consistency now. He's probably one of your most inconsistent players when it comes to how good he can be or how bad he can be. Because I've seen him be really bad. I've seen him give the ball away lots. I've seen bad tackles, lots of dumb stuff from him. But if he reaches a point, if Arteta can get him to play the way he's been playing the last 4 or 5 games for an entire season, it doesn't have to even be the heights of it. Just don't be bad. Just don't be as bad as you can be. Just reach that point where your lowest form is 6.5. I think that's what you need from him, because otherwise then I don't see how he could start over ESR every game, in my opinion, because from what I've seen, like the way they're battling, if he has bad games, it's like, how do you keep ESR out when he comes in?
Well, yeah,
ESR,
I'm going to be honest with you here.
ESR can be a super sub. I'm happy with that.
No, I think ESR's got a higher ceiling than Odegaard, though. I think ESR will be a better player than Odegaard. The one thing you've got to manage, though, is Odegaard is more experienced. So the problem you've got is if you start with Martinelli on the left, Saka on the right, and Smith Rowe in the middle, I think you have more overall ability, but you have less experience as players. And Odegaard and Laka as your sort of central. You suddenly now look at your spine, barring your defenders that are still quite young. You've got like an old elder statesman in the middle, central part of midfield. You've got Odegaard and Laka. You sometimes need those elder statesmen around there to help the young players. They sometimes can drift. They can sometimes be caught out of position. You don't know. It's a bit like learning to drive. Your first few years of driving, you're just driving. You don't learn to anticipate and understand what's going to happen, which years of experience gives you. So I think that getting the balance right is going to be key for Arteta in that space.
I'm just going to be quick. Our away form has been woeful this season, and that's where we've been dropping majority of our points. I'm happy to see us put in a 90-minute performance away from home, and for the team to also pick up points in 3 games consecutively, win in 8 days. We've gotten 3 games. We've got all our points. This is an Arsenal team that's been inconsistent for a decade. Guys, this is something to see and just be like, you know what? Good job, guys.
This is title winning form, isn't it, Gal?
No. I don't even want to go there.
Big Gal, it's called banter.
No, I get that. But Arsenal fans can't banter. You want to know why?
Nah, but
anything we say that's good, immediately it's you're being delusional.
No one takes your banter as serious. If you banter it like I just did, no one's gonna. Oh my god, Gal just said that. I want to ask them about the league, and we'll come to you in a second, Ram. Now that you're done with mums, or your auntie, whoever it may be, my brother. It's true. Chelsea are 5 points ahead of you. I'm not suggesting going to catch them. My view is they should be your target now. As in, don't look behind you, look forward, and just keep striving. Because Chelsea, are coughing and sputtering and everything else. Do you think, and this is not even so much an Arsenal chat, this is more of a top four chat. Do you think Chelsea will push themselves back into the top four, into the title race, maintain the title race, or do you think they could be dragged into this top four race?
I don't see them going to drag back. I can't see it. I think given the current situation with them and COVID, I think once everyone gets back and made a full recovery, and I can see Chelsea going on a mad run and possibly finishing second or third. But this year, Chelsea win the league, I don't see it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the max that they can drop down to is a solid third. I think the gap between the top three teams and everyone else is just too big. I don't think they'll be dragged down to a top four race. It's just title or just staying solid third. That's it.
I think they might, if I'm being honest, and this isn't me just being a Chelsea hater. Chelsea was extremely outperforming their XG for a long time. Nobody's paying attention to it because it's an advanced stat that a lot of people don't like to look at. But they were outperforming their XG and their teams were underperforming their XG. It's starting to right size. And the only reason I say it could happen, I'm not saying it's going to, I'm saying it could happen, is because I'm hearing from every Chelsea fan that Ben Chilwell is so important to their team and what they do. If he's not back until February, and there's no guarantee he's back until February, if he is so important and you're losing a player who's basically the glue of everything, and Marcus Alonso is a big problem, and then you don't have Romelu Lukaku scoring goals, because that was it, right? Bringing in Romelu Lukaku was the whole missing piece. You needed goals. Chelsea always needed goals. This was last year. That was this year. If he's not scoring goals, then you still have the same problem from last year. You've now lost Ben Chilwell. You have all these injuries, it's a valid excuse. At no point am I going to say, I'm not going to be one of those people who says, oh, let's not talk about injuries. We all get injuries. But now Chelsea's hit with the injuries, same way Liverpool got hit. So why is it not conceivable that they could drop back when they have all these things working against them?
One thing, I think on the left back thing, I don't know if it's a done deal, but they've looked to sign Luca Dean from
pretty much done.
So he'll be a very able left back cover for Ben Chilwell. I don't think Ben Chilwell will come back as an ACL. Even if they do surgery, they're going to wrap him up in cotton wool because that's his future nearly going down the drain with that injury. So I don't think he'll be coming back. But Luca Dean is a good option, and I think it'll just take a couple of games for them just to come back. And once they do, they'll be okay. They won't drop down to top four. They're not that bad. I'm
not saying they will. I'm just saying I don't think it's inconceivable that it could happen based on what we're seeing. It's impossible. I think listen, I picked Chelsea to win the league to start the year. I literally said they're going to win the league. The opinions can change throughout the year as things happen. And if we're going to bring in all of these, the Lukaku one's a big one for me. Like, if you're not getting the goals, we keep talking about it. They're not Man City. Like, you need somebody to put goals in. We lose Ronaldo, we're in 10th place, right?
And we talk about the elephant in the room. Kai Havertz and all these guys not delivering. Well, other people's youngsters are delivering, and they didn't have that 72 million price tag or whatever it costs. Just saying, my guy George called it in the summer. I'm not saying it's official. And Corinne. I'm not gonna forget to you, but yeah, I just had to say George because he's not here, obviously.
I mean, Chelsea. Yeah. The problem with the Kai Havertz situation is that the guy won them the Champions League, and it's so hard not to. No, wait, hang on, go. It's so hard for Chelsea fans not to criticize him because of what he's done and saying he's a flop because he has that. But the problem is that if you can't live off that one goal for the rest of his career,
I mean,
you have to keep a thing.
Can I give you guys an interesting stat? Kai Havertz in his whole Premier League career, 41 games, has 6 goals. Emil Smith-Rowe in 16 appearances in his Arsenal career this season has 7 goals.
I'm not allowed to talk about Kai Havertz anymore. So
I've always said a lot about Kai Havertz.
Look, but Chelsea have got to. The thing is, I still think Chelsea will finish. I still think Chelsea can push themselves back into the top 4 race, but they have to respond title race, but they have to respond soon. And there is City and Liverpool will pull away. There's no doubt about it. And, you know, Arsenal are finding some form now. The general consensus is, and we don't know how this bottleneck of games is going to impact them, but Man United are tipped. United have already found that we haven't been playing brilliant football, but since Ollie's been sacked, we ain't lost a Premier League game. You know, we won 3 on the bounce. We drew it, and we drew against Chelsea. You're suddenly going to see, in my opinion, Spurs and Man United become very hard to beat. Arsenal have progressed over the course of this season. I think you don't have to like Arsenal to deny there's been progression at Arsenal is just stupidity, in my opinion. It just makes you look like a dumb football fan to say there's been nothing. Equally, you don't have to agree that, you know, they're going to make the top 4 just yet, but I think you have to recognize there's something. That's what Chelsea need to guard against here, because if those teams continue to grow in confidence, and the one thing you'd say when you look at Arsenal at the moment, Spurs will kind of get it in the Premier League. United were. It's annoying from a football standpoint that we haven't seen games get played in the last week or so for those teams. There's a real feel-good factor. At Chelsea right now, you can see the pressure mounting. You can see that pressure. And what can sometimes happen in sport is if there comes a point where Chelsea mentally go, we're out the title race, it can make it hard to calibrate and fight and be as mentally ready for a top 4 fight. Does that make sense? Because you almost sort of give up. Now, it could go the other way, where you play with a lot more freedom and you start winning more games again. But it's going to be interesting over the next 3 to 4 weeks, see how this goes. They've got the World Club Championships as well. So when they're away, there's going to be a couple of Premier League games played. Could people catch them? And winning games, I've said it already. I've tweeted a few things today where people are having a pop at me, saying I've said it's going to be hard to catch Arsenal. And that's because I can still see a situation where Arsenal play another game or 2 before other teams decide to. A 5-6 point gap in this league, even with games in hand, is difficult when we've got Champions League football on the horizon. I'm really nervous about it. So, yeah, that's just my take. Sorry, Curran, you were going to say something, bro.
Look, there's a couple of things. So first of all, there's a great point about the games in hand. But my thing is people that are having games postponed, these players aren't training at the ground. And when you are not training, like Spurs have is for 2 weeks now, you lose match fitness. It's going to be tough. And they're going to Liverpool tomorrow if that does go ahead. So we're looking. Yeah. I mean, sorry, they're going. Sorry, thank you. Thank you. But you know. Sorry, yeah, it's at Spurs. But the point.
Even if the game, I don't think the game will go ahead tomorrow. I don't think so.
If it doesn't, that's another game they haven't played. But the point I'm trying to make is when you have COVID cases at your training ground in the squad, you're not training. These players aren't training. And the perfect example of what can happen to players is Gabriel from us last season. Gabriel started out last season very, very, very well. And then he got COVID and he came back and he looked very shaky in that second half of the season.
Yep.
And if you look at players that come back from this COVID virus, you have to think, is their performance going to be at the same level? Can you get a full squad? And this is a Spurs team that has had both Harry Kane and Son on the pitch and lost to a team that was formed in 2012. Like, come on,
Karen, I agree with you. Look, I've got COVID right now, and look, I'm not as fit as a Premier League football player, so it's a little bit of a false equivalence. But I don't really like eating food that's ready to eat. Like barring like a sandwich from the shop. That's all I can eat at the minute because I don't have the energy to cook anything. I don't have the energy. Like I literally, people don't realize my pattern in this last week. I'm really annoyed because I've got behind a lot of work, but I stream and then I sleep. I set my alarm and I get up about 45 minutes before I stream again and I prep my stream and I stream because I've got to work. But that's all I've done for a week now. So if you've got like a situation at Man United where there's only 7 first-team players available, the rest have got it, of course, you're going to get some that are asymptomatic. I think that's going to happen as well. But all it takes is 5 or 6 of your main first-team players who have actually been ill with this. And it could take them 2 or 3 weeks to physically feel ready to start playing football again. There's the match fitness. A lot of the United fans thought I'd be really good for our players and team working on Ralph's style, but the ground no one's been training. We haven't been working on that. So that's why I'm saying now I've got to a point where I'm like, selfishly, I want if one more team can't play, I want all teams' games to be, because also what you end up doing is you end up creating a bottleneck of games, but also you kind of take away from the competitiveness of the league. If you've got 2 or 3 teams in the top 4 playing all their games, and you've got 2 or 3 that have now got 5-6 games in hand, you get to a point where it kind of takes away the excitement of us all playing at the same time. And we love that in a weekend, don't you? Like Arsenal, Man United would have played first today. Say Man United win, puts more pressure on the Arsenal game. So it makes it easier in some respects for Arsenal because their rivals are not playing around them. There's no pressure being applied. And it takes away from what makes our league so special. So I just want to see the league do something soon. Because
let me say this, though. It could also negatively affect us if all our COVID cases happen after all your players come back.
This is true. I mean, do you know what will end up being Arsenal's luck? Is all the new protocols will be set in stone, and then you guys will get cases and then be made to play the games. Because that's the one thing though that a lot of people are calling for is you almost need to draw a line under it, and there might need to be a circuit breaker or something. But after that, you can imagine you just have to field whoever is available. That's where you don't want to be if you're an Arsenal situation. Is your outbreak comes in 3 weeks' time, and you're made to play with legitimate kids. Do you get what I mean? It happened already this season.
Another point is it's a lot of like teams like Spurs and United have new managers, and you need time on the training ground, as you were saying. You have players that need to, especially with Ralph. Ralph is playing a very high energy, his 8-second offense style that he needs to implement, and he hasn't prepared the players he has. He needs time with them on the pitch at this moment in time to actually get a case where you can actually play the way he wants you to play. So if I'm Man United, I understand. As an Arsenal fan, I want the games because I feel like we have a good run of games at the moment. We need, you know what I mean? Like selfishly, like I want the games. But
bro,
like
I agree. Yeah. Fergie always used to say, like games played are worth. I don't quite remember the exact phrase, but it was always like games played.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Are worth more than games in hand. Exactly.
I'm gonna head off, but I'm just gonna say, we're playing Sunderland midweek. I think
Tuesday.
Tuesday. It's gonna be a heavily rotated side, and then against Norwich, we're gonna give them 3. I'm telling you right now, we're gonna give them 3.
Here we go.
We're keeping it moving.
What shall they give you 3, mate?
Mate, that's nice when you play Norwich and Leeds. You just know it's a victory. Norwich and Leeds, it's as close to a guarantee.
I mean, Norwich gave you a game.
They outplayed us.
Peace out, guys.
Yeah, but we still beat them.
You still beat them, but they looked good in that game.
But they still
like them.
Yeah, but then they're not a very good team. We just
they're not a good team, but they impressed me that game. I will say that.
Terry, going back to the Chelsea and them dropping down to the top 4 race, or whether they're going to go for the title. I think their next 3 games. Well, I know their next 2 games are against Wolves and Aston Villa away from home, and those 2 teams are very, very tough. Like Steven Gerrard's got Villa organized. Wolves has always been an organized team defensively, and if they continue to drop points, it's just the gap is becoming a lot bigger and bigger. And you know, Liverpool City, they're trained to win games every single week, and it could become from 5 points to 7 points to 9 points and possibly even 10 or 12. So these next 3 games are going to be immense pressure for all these Chelsea players. And if they don't win those games, or if they drop points and it's coming to the Liverpool game, that game is going to be make or break for them for their season.
Hear you. It's going to be very interesting indeed. And listen, I don't write nothing off. People will always call you a hater when you ask those questions. Can Arsenal or Man United or somebody kind of, you even look at Tottenham. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do this. If Tottenham were to win their 4 games in hand, well, one of them is kind of tomorrow, so they won't. If they won their 3 games in hand, which I think they'd have won those 3 games with who they were going up against, they'd be sitting right now on 34 points. They'd only be 3 points behind Chelsea. That's where like Chelsea have had a little bit fortuitous that these teams are missing these games because it's going to be hard when they come back. Maybe a little different from Tottenham. They need to start winning again soon because teams at this level of sport, people smell blood. I watched a fight last week in the UFC, and I do compare the sports because sport is sport. Where Pena was up against Amanda Nunes, who is arguably the GOAT. And even when she was beating her up, I was like, Pena not as good. You could see the technique, but she made Nunes panic. And then Pena smelt the blood and went for her and took her out. Smelt the blood. And that's what happens in sport. And I look at Arsenal, got the bit between their teeth again. You've come back from 2 setbacks this season, of like losing a number of games quite heavily in a short space of time, and you bounce back twice. That resilience is contagious. And I think from a competitive point of view, Chelsea are almost in this crossroads right now. Can we perform well enough to get back into this title race or maintain this title race? Or could we mess up a few more times and then feel the sense of deflation by being dragged into a top 4 race? Mentally, that's got to be harder. It's got to be harder for Chelsea to suddenly be in a top 4 race than a title race, because they don't feel the same. They don't, like if you're out of the top 4 race and suddenly you're in it, that's amazing. But if you're in a title race and then suddenly you've got Spurs and Arsenal clipping at your heels, it's going to be interesting to see how Chelsea respond to that. And I'm intrigued. I'm very, very intrigued indeed. Very intrigued indeed.
It's whether if they have the bottle. That's the thing.
The psychological part, though, of like you saying Tottenham would have been on 34 points. We saw it for years with United as like every time we got close, we couldn't break through. Like you'd see everybody else drop points, and then of course United would crumble with them. And it was maddening under Ollie. That's one thing I will say. But with Chelsea, they're kind of missing that element, because it's, as you said, the games haven't been played yet, right? So technically, it's not psychologically hitting them yet that people are nipping on their heels, because they have to win those games. And I think that point that you made earlier is very important. That if we get to a stage where we have 3 or 4 that we missed that we have to win, it does get a bit stressful, because you're like, now the pressure's on those teams. You have to win those games, whereas Arsenal has won those games. And I think that's going to change kind of the dynamic of how this whole title race and conversation happens. How soon we get games back and how many games in hand some of these teams have, because it will end up being a crunch. And there's going to be that little psychological part where the teams that now need to win, it's actually more pressure on them, in my opinion.
I agree.
I think I think when it comes to Chelsea and these next couple of games, all these teams know that they're under immense pressure, and I think they're going to feed off that, and that's why it's going to be interesting to see how Chelsea are going to do. I think all the pressure's on Chelsea. I don't think Spurs or Man United or Arsenal are going to be in any sort of pressure, because let's be honest, compared to Chelsea, their squads and the team is not at the same level. So
do you not think it depends on the results, though? Because, for instance, if Arsenal would have drawn today and drawn against West Ham, then I think Spurs and Man United are licking their lips, because you're only a point or so behind, but you've got those 3 or 4 games in hand. If Chelsea drop, it's a point. That's what I'm saying. If Chelsea drop points, that's where the incentive is there for them. Again, Chelsea being dragged into a top 4 race is good for everybody, because then 3 teams are not fighting for 1 place. 4 teams are fighting for 2. So mathematically, you've got a 50% chance of making it rather than a 33% chance of making it. So that's, I know, I'm not sure if football teams talk in those senses, in that way, but there's more of a chance. So if Chelsea lose tomorrow, they drop points again over the Christmas period, Man United and Spurs have an added incentive. If they don't, I mean, Chelsea win all their games and Arsenal win all their games, Cam's right. And that pressure on Man United and Tottenham, we have to win. We can't step up, because visually you're looking at it and suddenly teams are 10, 12, 15 points in front of you, irrespective of you having 3 or 4 games in hand. You have to win them. So it's going to be very intriguing indeed to see the mental side of sport. For me is my most favorite bit. It's why I talk about these things, because I think it's the unknown. Unless you've been a sportsman or woman, sportsperson in any way, shape, or form, it's hard to know how you feel about it. And a feeling of invincibility is so potent. But listen, everyone who's tuned in, thank you. Congratulations again to Arsenal, 3-3. The young guns firing them and maintaining them into 4th spot. Leeds battered. Bielsa and his puffy are absolutely.
I can't believe you mentioned that. Wow.
It's a puffy.
I was crazy backstage.
It's called a puffy. It's called a puffy. Him and his puffy are in the mud again. A lot of youngsters like, who's he calling a puffy? No, that little thing he sits on looks like a puffy. Until next time, people, take care of yourselves. Thank you. Actually, did I put all the I did put all the super chats up. I did. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. We're back tomorrow with more content for you. Good luck to Joseph Parker and Derek